This might just be one of the filthiest gaming PCs I've ever bought to flip, but I think we can work our magic to make a nice little profit on this system. See, I was able to find this system that if you were to build yourself would cost over $1,700 for only $1,100 on Facebook Marketplace. And after going back and forth with the seller and talking about the system, we were able to go ahead and come down to an agreed upon price of $1,000 just because, yeah, this system is in some really rough shape. One, it overheats the second you throw it under load, hitting 90 degrees Celsius and starts the thermal throttle instantly. And two, it's just in really rough condition with the amount of dust buildup, and it's even worse up front. This radiator up here can't breathe at all. So we're gonna have to do a full cleaning on this machine, get it all cleaned up, get it running good, repaste the CPU, and I think if we could do that, we can turn a nice $300 to $350 profit, but we'll have to figure that out in a little bit. So let's go and get started with the cleaning. And if you're curious why I'm talking about there being so much dust buildup that this system just can't operate, look at this radiator. It's just gunked on with all this dust buildup that there's no way that there's getting any airflow through this system. And something like this GPU, you can't even see that it says 3080 Ti. That is crazy. So between all the dust internally, as well as what's stuck on the radiator, no wonder this system is overheating the way it is. And my real question about this system is, it can't be more than maybe 2 years old, but how did it get so much dust build up so fast? Because of the current state of the system, I think the best way to clean this is to actually clean the GPU separately, then clean the rest of the case, including this terrible radiator set. Also, it looks like somebody forgot to take off the plastic of this NZXT cooler. That's gonna be a nice satisfying peel once we finish everything up. So we'll start with removing this GPU. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this actual power cable out first. So that's our 12-volt cable out. Then we can go ahead and just pop the tab right here and slide that GPU right out. That thing is pretty nasty. And look at just how big of a difference just my thumbprint made on this backplate. That's crazy. The heatsink side is actually not as bad as I thought it would be. There's definitely some buildup here with some hair, but besides that, it's actually in pretty good condition where I think we're just gonna need to blow this out and it should be just fine. Now with the system outside, we can go ahead and take our data vac and start getting the system blown out. What we're gonna have to do is hold all the fans as we blow them just to keep those from building up any kind of static. So we'll start with the front. And we can get these top and back fans. And the rest of the system. And then I didn't forget about the back as well. It was pretty much just that easy to make the system look 1,000 times better. And now we just have to do the same thing with the GPU. So we can go ahead and hold our fingers in the fans to keep those from moving. And we can get the other. And just like that, this GPU looks pretty much brand new. Now that the entire system's all clean, before we install this GPU, let's go ahead and repaste this CPU to go ahead and help lower some temperatures just a little more. This is a pretty simple process. All we got to do is unscrew these thumb nuts. And then we can go ahead and pull the cooler right off. Look at that, the thermal paste is pretty much dried up. No wonder the CPU was as hot as it is. I don't think it was making great contact to begin with. As you can tell, you see this outer part is really dried up and you can see small spots where it's actually touching. That's where the CPU was actually touching the actual cold plate. So no wonder the system was so hot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and repaste it. We'll go ahead and remount it. it did feel a little loose, so that could have also been the case of why it was so hot to begin with. And I think we're gonna be able to lower temperatures quite a bit this time. So to clean things up, we'll take some isopropyl alcohol, put it on one of our shop towels, and then we can go ahead and wipe down this CPU, get all that old thermal paste off, and then we can do the same thing with the actual cooler. So we'll go ahead and get all that dried up thermal paste off. That looks way better. Now we can put some fresh Arctic MX6 thermal paste on the CPU. This should be pretty easy. We're gonna go ahead and just do it X pattern, and then we can take our cooler and put it right back into place. Then screw it back down. Just like that, the cooler is now back and ready to go. And with that reinstalled, we can now install our GPU back into the system. We can then plug the GPU back in. And then finally, we can always remove this plastic right off the cooler. And then after firing the system back up, let's go ahead and open up a stress test on the system and let's check our temps. And after firing up 8064 system stability test, we're now sitting in the low 80s, around 80.5 degrees Celsius right now. That is pretty good for this CPU, and it's not thermal throttling at all, so we're getting max boost loss, which is awesome. And then when it comes to our GPU temperatures, those also dropped anywhere between 5 to like 8 degrees depending on the test. In Furmark, we're about 5 to 6 degrees right now, cooler than what we were when we ran it before. So that dust buildup and the amount of airflow was definitely restricting the system. And it's nice to see that the system is now operating properly and there's no more thermal throttling. Now that the system is no longer being suffocated by dust, it's not overheating anymore. So what's my plan to go and move forward? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get it listed on Facebook Marketplace. Based on the market trends for a system with a Ryzen 9 5900X and an RTX 3080 Ti, 32 GB of RAM, and a 1 TB SSD, I believe that this system can easily fetch $1,350, and that's what I'm gonna list it for. I'm gonna be very competitive because I've seen those systems anywhere between like $1,350 to $1,450, which makes a lot of sense for a system that brand new, if you built it yourself, would be about $1,750 if you include Windows. So at that price point, that's gonna make us pretty competitive, and I'll be willing to probably go down to about $1,300 to go ahead and just get it sold. Either way, I'm gonna make at least a $300 profit, and I'm super happy about it because not only am I gonna make a nice little profit, but whoever ends up getting this is gonna end up with a system that can run any game at 1440p with no problems thanks to that 3080 Ti. So it should be a nice overall fit. And if you guys want to see more repair and flip videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to make them. I already have a couple lined up, so I think you guys will like those, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video though, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and go ahead and take a look at this repair and flip we did a while back. I think you guys will really like it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.